Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, welcome to Army Public School PMA Resource Network. Before we start our today's subject, English Literature, please subscribe this page and click on bell icon so you will receive notification of upcoming videos well in time. In our today's lecture, we are going to discuss Chapter 3 of novel, The Lost World. Learning objectives. Before going into the details of today's topic, I would like to share learning objectives with you. So, here are the learning objectives. To recap Chapter 3, to refresh your knowledge for written work, to summarize the chapter, to attempt exercises 1 to 4 properly, to read and comprehend the text, to answer the questions. Recap of Chapter 1 and 2. Edward Malone, a reporter, is in love with Gladys Hungerton. She has rejected his proposal of marriage because she wants to marry a man who had faced death in the pursuit of great deed. Edward approaches editor Mr. McCordle with the idea of doing a story that will fulfill Gladys' requirement. Mr. McCordle sends Edward to interview Professor George Challenger, who has stated he discovered living dinosaurs in South America. The combative professor has already interviewed one reporter from the Daily Telegraph who has tried to interview him. Edward wrote a letter to Professor Challenger and stated that he wanted to ask him some questions about a lecture he had given in Zoological Institute Hall. Professor agreed to be interviewed. Edward started to ask some questions. Why did you travel to South America? He stated that he went to South America to study animals of the Amazon. But unfortunately, my boat overturned on the return journey and my camera and film were ruined, so I don't have much proof of what I saw, he explained. Then he invited Edward at the Zoological Institute Hall, where he would share his experiences tonight. Students, here are some instructions for you. So read the instructions carefully. Read the chapter loudly with correct pronunciation. Underline words or phrases new for you. Summarize Chapter 3. Now students, Chapter 3. When I returned to the office, McCordle was at his desk. Well, he asked, how did it go? Better than I expected, I said. McCordle leaned back in his chair. So, do you believe the professor's nonsense about discovering dinosaurs? Actually, I said, I think Challenger might be telling the truth about what he saw in South America. McCordle's jaw dropped open. You can't be serious, he said. Does he have any proof? I shook my head. His camera and most of his films were destroyed, so he doesn't have much proof. He did, however, show me a wing which he says belonged to a pterodactyl. McCordle twisted his mustache thoughtfully. Malone, people don't make enormous discoveries and then lose the evidence. I'm convinced he is lying. Well, the professor is going to discuss his findings at the Zoological Institute tonight. I said he's invited me to go. Perhaps you should come too. All right, said McArdle. I will. When we arrived at the Zoological Institute Hall, we found it full of professors, medical students, and members of the public who were eager to hear Professor Challenger speak. Shortly before 8 o'clock, the chairman of the Zoological Institute, the Duke of Durham, introduced Professor Challenger and invited him to the stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," said Challenger, "I know you have come here today to hear about my journey to South America, so I will get right to the point. During my travel through the Amazon, I discovered a forgotten world where dinosaurs still exist." "Liar!" shouted someone from the audience. "Prove it!" shouted another. Challenger's face turned red. "Liar?" he repeated. "You dare call me that?" Some members of the audience began to boo. "All right then," said the professor, "there is only one way I can prove to you that I am telling the truth. Someone in this room must travel to South America with me to confirm my story." The audience was silent. Mr. Summerlee, the professor of anatomy, stood up. "I will volunteer for this mission," he said. The audience gasped. "Any other volunteer?" asked Professor Challenger. I immediately thought of Gladys. This was exactly the kind of adventure she would want me to go on. Without any hesitation, I jumped to my feet. "My name is Edward Mellon, and I am a journalist at the Daily Gazette. I, too, will volunteer to go on this trip." Then another man stood up. "My name is Lord John Roxton," he said. "I have already traveled to the Amazons and I know the area well. I also want to go on this trip." The chairman rose to his feet. "Thank you, gentlemen," he said. He turned to Professor Challenger. "Professor, these 3 men will go with you to South America to investigate your claims." Professor Challenger nodded. The audience cheered and meeting ended. "It was very brave of you to volunteer for the mission," said McArdle. As we stepped out into the cool night air, I looked forward to reading your article when you return. Suddenly, I was filled with a feeling of dread. "I hope I haven't made a terrible mistake," I muttered to myself. On a wet and foggy morning, a few weeks later, Professor Summerlee, Lord Roxton, and I boarded a ship to South America. We had made arrangements to meet Professor Challenger at a town on the Amazon River called Manaus. I won't bore you with detail of our journey, except to say that we arrived safely in Manaus and met with Professor Challenger at a small hotel in town. This is probably a good time to tell you a bit more about my traveling companions. Professor Summerlee was tall and thin, in his mid-60s, with the energy of a man half his age. Lord John Roxton was in his 40s. He too was a thin man with blue eyes and gentle voice. Lord John was a famous hunter and explorer and had traveled to South America many times. He was also fluent in the local languages. Professor Challenger had employed some men to help us travel through the Amazon. The party included a large African man named Zambo, 2 local guides named Gomez and Manuel, and 3 Mojo Indians from Bolivia who were expert fishermen. Their names were Mojo, Josie, and Fernando. Lord John hired a steamship, the Esmeralda, to take us down the river. We travelled for 6 days, and when the river began to narrow, we filled 2 canoes with all our possessions and continued our journey into the unknown. Recap of Chapter 3. Edward Millon gains Challenger's trust and he asks Edward to see him speak at a lecture of the Zoological Institute Hall. There Challenger tears apart the lecturer's speech and he himself is subjected to ridicule by some members of the audience. It is because of this a committee is formed to go to South America and explore Challenger's claims. Those who volunteer are Professor Summerlee, Lord John Roxton, and Edward Millon. Edward and his editor, Mr. McCordell, agree that Edward will send back letters about the expedition and after the consent of Challenger, edit them for publication. As the three men are boarding the ship to sail to South America, Challenger comes on board with some final instructions. Professor Challenger hired 6 natives to help them on their journey. Lord John Roxton hired a steamship called Esmeralda to transport them down the Amazon forest and has also brought 2 Indian guides along with them. Now students, it's time to discuss success criteria before starting our homework. Success criteria is draw margin line and mention date and day. Underline new and difficult words or phrases and find synonyms and antonyms. Recall chapter 3 while going for written work. And the last is write summary in your own words. Now students, it's time for home task and your home task is write summary of chapter 3 from the novel. Your summary must be 75 to 100 words. Put this in your mind students. Write summary in your own words and leave out unnecessary detail. Read the chapter again before attempting the given exercises. Comprehension exercise 1 and 2, vocabulary exercises 3 and 4. To complete all these exercises, use Lucid. Now it's time to say you goodbye. Thank you and Allah Hafiz.